Mike, turn your games down.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another recovered episode of Games My Mom Found. I am Mike Albertin, and who is with me tonight?
Hey, this is Kerrooseta, Kerooseta on Twitch. You can call me Kerry.
Hi, welcome back.
Thank you.
And, sorry, I didn't want to step over that. But hi, this is Dominic Cichocki. How you doing?
Welcome back, also. And where can people find you at, Dominic?
Oh, I'm on the, what's it called? Distant Waves show on YouTube.
That's what happens. The wonderful world of creation. So you guys are joining me for a very special episode that's been making, I think when I first had this idea to do this, we only done one other recovered it, you guys have heard. Only one we ever recorded. So we're doing another recovered episode where we look back at a game that we did on the show, usually in this case, almost 3 years ago at the time, depending on when you're hearing this, the time of recording this. And then we just go and I get different people and I revisit it. Since the cast has completely changed, I get different people. And sometimes it's nice to go back and look at a game that I have forgotten about, or like in this case, we're covering Super Metroid. I had a bad experience with Super Metroid when I played it back then. Like I didn't go back and listen to the episode because it's trash, because I didn't know what I was doing. It's a bad episode. But I remember I did not like Super Metroid. I didn't have a great time with the game. But I also had never really played any of the Metroid games and beat them at that point, where now I've beaten Zero, Fusion, Prime. I think that's it. But I played a few. And I also play more Metrovania. So I'm better now at the system than where I was back then.
Were those all for the podcast?
Yeah.
Cool.
No, everything I do is for the podcast. I don't know how to not do something for the podcast, I think, at this point. But so we are here to talk about Super Metroid, which came out in 1994 for Super Nintendo.
The year of my birth.
Nice. So, Dominic, this was your first time playing this game, right?
It was, yes.
And this is my second time ever beating the game. And Kerry, I know you played this game like many, many times, you said?
Dozens of times, yeah.
I should clarify, it's my first time beating it. I played like an hour and a half before, maybe.
Okay, I mean, I have started this game multiple times when I was a kid, when I used to have Super Nintendos, and I just never could get anywhere in this game because I wasn't a fan of the style.
It's funny because this is one of my very favorite video games of all time. I've beaten it a whole bunch of times, but I never actually played it for more than a few minutes until I was an adult. And I was 11 when this game came out. It came out right after my 11th birthday, and my mom took me to Target, which back then we didn't have a Target in our town, so we had to go to the next town over for Target. And I played it at the kiosk there, and then I didn't ask for it because I was like, that was whatever. I'd never heard of Metroid before. I didn't have Nintendo Power, so I never heard of Metroid or Metroid 2. Didn't have a Game Boy, And so and then years and years later, I bought it as an adult, or I think I probably got into it, illegally as a teenager, and then or as a college kid, and then bought it once I was a grown up and started like going back and collecting the old games that I never played. And it's probably in my top 10 favorite, if not my top 5 favorite games of all time. So
okay.
So you're a devotee? Yes, they exist. They're out there.
Yep.
I want to say I did try playing this in emulation. I never got far either. My first time ever really putting time into it was on the Wii Virtual Console. I bought this game multiple times on there.
Oh yeah, I've got it on the Wii also. Yeah.
But I couldn't. It wasn't until the podcast when I first beat it for the first time, and then I played it again for this show or this episode. I played it on the Switch with Rewind, which is the right way to play, in my opinion. If you don't, that's how you want to experience games like me.
I mean, it's definitely the most convenient way to play it.
It's also the easiest.
Yeah. I mean, my kind of rule with games like that is I will use flash saves for the sake of convenience. Like I've got to be able to turn this, like I was playing right before we started recording and I wasn't near a save point, so I flash saved for that. But I haven't used the rewind feature for this particular game, which I probably should have, because I was trying to do some speed running the other night, and so I was skipping save rooms, and I got to Kraid without saving, and I died, and I was like, nice. Son of a bitch. Yeah,
that's speedrunning for you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, okay. For those that don't know, Super Metroid is a 2D platformer game. I'm assuming most people know, which is one of the early games that kind of defined the search action genre, or Metrovania as we call it, lovingly. Which I still think is a better term. But, that's the thing. Like when I had played this game before, now that I understand the series a lot better and understand the gameplay, it doesn't bother me that you start out with almost nothing in this game, that you have to find all your, equipment to start off with. Like, that doesn't bother me, where when I played this game before, it bothered me, nor did I understand, like, why you start off when you get to the planet, you go and see the end of the first game. Like, none of that made sense to me.
Yeah.
Now it does.
Mm.
Yeah.
It was interesting.
Direct sequel.
Yeah. To 2.
Which no one
it is. And I like that at the beginning. It does like little cutscenes where it's showing the ending of the original Metroid and the ending of Metroid 2, but it's showing them in the Super Metroid graphics, but in black and white or kind of sepia tone.
Yeah.
It's like a neat little touch. It would have been easy for them to just have the footage from the original game, or maybe it wouldn't have actually, because they probably had to animate it using the SNES.
Yeah,
right.
So they had to remake it anyway.
Yeah.
They probably just dumped it into the engine and just redid it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, because it definitely looks way different than it looks in those other games.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, like, I bought this on the Virtual Console back in the day, and like, this is a game I should have played a long time ago, having played, Zero Mission a bunch of times, Fusion a bunch of times, Prime a bunch of times. I've beaten all the Primes. I've even beaten Metroid 2 on Game Boy. So, like,
nice.
Coming back to this was like something I needed to do, and I'm really glad to have this opportunity to do it.
Yeah.
That's what the show is for. I love getting people to play games that have been on their list that they just never have gotten around to playing. I love being able to make that happen.
Yeah, and I feel like this is a game that even if it's not your favorite, it's kind of like part of the essential canon. It's like, you've got to play this. You have to play Mario 3. You have to play Symphony of the Night. Like, there's certain games that just kind of defined gaming.
Like Chrono Trigger.
Yeah.
I would be
totally.
I would be very interested to play Symphony of the Night now and like kind of see which one I end up liking better, and seeing like, if I were to suggest one for the canon, which one of those two would it be? Because I think playing both would almost be repetitive.
Have you played Symphony?
Well,
no, I haven't.
Wow.
No, they're very.
I played even less Castlevania.
They're very different. I mean, it's within, like, Metroidvania is my favorite genre of games, and I play a lot of them. And we usually kind of separate the Metroidvanias and then the Igavanias. The Igavanias are games like Symphony of the Night, Hollow Knight, games like that. Yeah.
Where you level up.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, where you level up and where it's melee based rather than shooting also makes a significant difference. And where it's less about platforming than combat. This game, platforming makes a significant part of it that is less so in like Symphony of the Night in those games. But Symphony of the Night is, of the two, Symphony of the Night is probably a little above for me.
Yeah.
Same.
That's something I did want to talk about.
Yeah.
Because I played it with Virtual Console. Mike, you played on Switch, and what did you play on, Kerry?
This time I played it on Switch, but I have it on Super Nintendo. I have it on the Wii. I have it on my, of course, I have the SNES Classic hooked up in my bedroom, and I've played it on there. And then I've been playing it on the Switch Online ahead of this podcast. I also play it on PC a lot because I like to mess with ROM hacks and stuff for it.
Fair.
So,
and this is a game that has a ton of ROM hacks that people have done. Like, before this episode, at some point in the last 2 months, I watched a speedrun called Super Metroid Impossible, which took this game and made it as hard as they possibly could, and the guy speedrun it. Still died because it was insane what he had to do, but it's that kind of game.
There's a speedrunner I really like that only, as far as I know, this is like his only game, pretty much. It's Oats and Goats.
Okay, it was Oats and Goats too. I was watching.
Yeah, he does, like, he on his channel does, like, I can't remember what he calls it. It has like a series of just, it's nothing but ROM hacks for Super Metroid where he plays all the way through them.
Wow.
Which I haven't watched very many of those, but he and Andy, who's a Link to the Past runner.
Okay.
There's a ROM hack that I've played that's very difficult where it combines Super Metroid and A Link to the Past as one game with all the items randomized. So it's a randomizer, but it randomizes them through the two games. And then there's certain doorways that warp you into the other game. And then so you'll be going around, like, you'll be in a dungeon in A Link to the Past and you'll find the super bombs. And then you'll have to go back to Super Metroid and use the super bomb to find, Heart Container or the flute or whatever. It's insane.
Oh, thank you.
It's insane. And I watched him and Andy speedrun that on Awesome Games Done Quick. And that is a video that I've probably that's like a 3 or 4 hour video that I've probably rewatched, 15, 20 times. It's really enjoyable to see them go through that. And I think they don't get the sword until like I mean, easily an hour and a half into the game before they get
That's
a weapon.
cool.
I would watch this, but I would never play it.
I tried it and I'm not good enough for it. I definitely like randomizers for Super Metroid Symphony of the Night. I've beaten the randomizer on that a couple of times.
Gotcha.
And then I've randomized A Link to the Past, but I'm not near. I love A Link to the Past, but I'm not good enough at it to beat it with a randomizer because you don't get the sword. If you don't get the sword early, then it's really difficult. You're like hoping to find any offensive weapon whatsoever.
Yeah, I
Right.
can't do that. No,
That seems like a lot.
Yeah, it's easier as Super Metroid because you can always shoot. You know?
Yes.
Yeah, and
Well,
it's
Super
fun. Like,
Metroid's a-
one time I did Super Metroid and I got like the gravity suit. Like it's like the first item I found, and I was like, oh, okay, well that's going to make things a lot easier.
Well, it's a game that starts off where you have the ability to do things, but you're getting the whole idea is that you're going through this planet that you were on in the first game, and you're trying to get all this equipment back that you don't have for some reason. I don't think it doesn't explain it in this game where you don't have the equipment, but
Yeah,
Yeah,
in this game
really.
it doesn't explain it. It explains it in in
Most.
Prime really well. I felt
Yes.
like that's what one thing I really liked about Prime.
Fusion as well gives a really great explanation.
Mhm.
it infects her with a virus.
And then they have to
Fusion does it.
extract the parts from her manually.
Dread does it. Symphony of the Night does the same thing. Symphony of the Night. You walk in and Def's like, I'm going to take all your stuff because I don't want you to kill your dad. So taking all your stuff.
I mean, the thing about this game is that, like, since I had played other Metroids, I now understand the system so much better. Like, I understand running around, I understand the Morph Ball, I understand missiles. Like, everything makes more sense because this game has very little. Like, you get a little bit of story in the very beginning, but
Yeah.
most of it is all environmental clues. Like, I forget.
Yeah.
Each Metroid game has a certain theme, and I forget what the one is for this game. I can't remember what the theme is considered.
The
What do you mean,
theme.
the theme.
Like
Yeah.
I know loneliness is one of them, or isolation is like one of them. Fusion is kind of like horror in a way, or something.
Yeah,
It's
I
not
felt
like an
like
actual
this
thing
one-
in the game, but what people say.
I felt like this one was just kind of like, taking the original Metroid and let's just kind of amp it up. Let's make it a much bigger, more interconnected world, more power-ups, more, I think that's kind of all they were really going for. So I think it's similar to the first game is kind of about being isolated and alone and lost,
Yeah.
And then in Metroid 2, you've got the whole deal with that you're basically committing genocide. And then, you find this one, baby and you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't kill it. But then in the introductory cutscene of this, you're like, so anyway, I gave the baby to some scientists and they experimented on it.
Never mind the familial aspects of that, but
Yeah. I think they really, is it Other M is the first one where they kind of like bring back, they go with the mother thing and they go way too hard on it with the it's called a bottle ship and it was making a baby cry. It's shut up. Oh God.
I've never played Other M for like more than a couple hours. That's one on my list I got to go back to.
I'll be there for that if you need me.
I will.
Yeah, I kind of want to replay it and give it a chance because I noped out on that about 4 or 5 hours in. Whenever whenever the Adam's like, don't use missiles, all right? And I'm like, all right.
Adam was way
Just
cooler
not-
in Fusion.
Well, when I play, it won't be on a Wii mode either. So
Oh yeah. That's a good question. So you got to have the Super Nintendo controller playing this. I feel like that's essential.
I did the Pro Plus. We like the one with the handles.
Oh yeah.
I played on a Switch Lite. That's what I have.
Oh, so you're just using you're using Switch Lite. Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
wall jumping was not a thing for me very well.
Yeah, I've tried to play it with Joy-Cons before, and the wall jumping with the stick is kind of hard for me. And using the little chiclets on I'm not a fan of the little chiclet buttons on the Joy-Cons. I use the 8BitDo SN30 Pro, which is their Super Nintendo controller that has the triggers and it has the sticks, so you can use it for modern games, but also Super Nintendo style games.
I found myself going back and forth between the classic controller sticks and the D-pad, but I found wall jumping pretty easy for me. So
I'm terrible at it. I don't
wall
understand
jumping
it.
with the D-pad is something that I think at one point in my past I sat and just practiced wall jumping till I got it.
Oh, yeah.
So now I'm pretty good at it. I'm still not to speedrunner level where they just wall jump up a wall. It looks like just walking up the wall basically. I
Right.
can't quite do that, but I can do the one wall jump where you're just climbing a single wall by itself.
Not quite there yet, but I'm probably sure I can do it. I've played so much of the other games.
Yeah.
I can do it with a lot of rewind, but I'm not good at it. I don't like it.
I think it's easier to do the like multiple wall jumping in Super Metroid than it is in some of the newer games.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure. It may just feel that way.
What blows my mind though is there's no ledge grab.
Yeah, you get used to the ledge grab. Did that start in Fusion?
Yeah.
No, it's in Zero Mission, but it wasn't.
Mission?
Fusion.
Fusion was first, yeah.
Well, yeah, Fusion came before Zero. Oh yeah, yeah. I was. I mean, I'm used to it because I play Super Metroid so much. But I just 100%ed Dread a couple like last week, and so when I first started up Super Metroid, I was like, oh yeah, you can't ledge grab. Yeah, the ledge grab is a really good addition.
There's that. A couple of things I found were really weird. Like Samus is so big in this game.
Yeah, they wanted to show off those Super
She's so
Nintendo
big.
Rights.
She's got mad hops. She can touch the ceiling of most rooms, it feels like, just by jumping.
High jump especially.
Yeah, with high jump especially, but like Fusion is so like, no, the ceilings are off limits until you get a high jump or you get the screw attack or whatever, the jumping thing. But like it's so weird to just be like, no, I can just go up there and get that E-tank that's in the ceiling just by jumping.
Yeah.
It's not a puzzle.
Pretty early. Yep.
Well, that's one thing interesting about this game is that like there's like the whole wall jump. There's 3 different tricks that I think there's 3, right, that the game doesn't tell you about, but are in the game what the animals teach you.
Yeah.
There's the wall jumping, shine sparking. I thought that was it.
Okay, maybe that is it. I thought there was a third animal that teach you something, but maybe
it also doesn't tell you there's a dedicated run button.
That right there. When I first bought the game as like when I was like when I first started trying to play the game on emulator in college, that was where I stopped, was when you get to that one green room where you've got to run across the falling blocks.
Yes.
I couldn't figure it out because it didn't occur to me that there was a button, and it's dumb because that button exists, that mechanic exists in Super Mario Brothers and Mario Brothers 2, Mario Brothers 3, Super Mario World, right? So it makes sense. This game coming out 2 years after Super Mario World, of course, hold down the B button to run, just like in that game. But it just never occurred to me. And I just gave up on the game and came back to it years later and was like, oh, of course. And now I play the game and I have the B button held down basically all the time that I'm playing.
And for me, it's the other end of like, I played Fusion and everything else. There's no run button there. Why would I assume this one would have it?
Oh, yeah. It's crazy that it doesn't tell you. Does it tell you if you go into the control screen?
I don't know. I didn't
see it. I
don't think
I only found it. I was watching a video of a guy because I didn't know what to do and I got stuck at one point and I saw him run. I'm like, oh, I can run, and then I just ran.
I also got stuck.
Yeah, that's probably how I discovered it. Also,
this game can be very confusing because one, if you're using guides, you got to be careful what guides you're using because some people will skip things or glitch through.
Right.
Through things. Well, not even glitch. Just use the abilities that they know how to, or get an item earlier than you would normally because you know how to. You can do a lot of skipping in this game where I can't do wall jumps very well. I don't like doing shine sparks is where you run to a certain point. You'll end up getting super speed if you have an item called speed booster. But with shine spark, you are able to hold it, walk a certain distance, and then shoot upward.
Yeah, that's always been the hardest thing for me.
You can do it in any direction.
Oh yes, you can.
It is the hardest thing for me, and I hate it. Whenever I have to do it in one of those games. This is where I get stuck usually.
It's annoying
because this one makes you do it like against a ramp to like shoot up. And like to the diagonal left, and like that's a lot to ask.
I never shine. Oh, you're talking about for that one? I just run and jump. That's how I get through that one.
Well, I think but it's like it's like a speed momentum thing where you have to be on the ramp and jump at the right time.
Yes, rewind's wonderful for that.
Yeah, the shine sparking. Once you get it down, it's a lot of fun, and you can do like some pretty cool skipping. You're invincible while you're doing it, and anything you hit will die instantly. Almost all enemies will die instantly if you hit them while you're doing it. And you can once you get good with it, you can even time like shooting missiles and stuff to open doors ahead of you. You can follow the missile, and that's one of that's actually what I was doing whenever I was like, oh crap, I got to get on Skype for the podcast. Is I was practicing what's called ocean flying, which is where when you go to the sunken ship, you have to have the grapple beam to get there, but you can get there without the grapple beam as soon as you get speed boost. But you have to be able to activate the speed boost without the required runway by doing a glitch, which I managed to do. But then you have to be able to fire these missiles at just the right spot so that you follow the missile without outrunning it, and it'll open the door ahead of you, and you'll be able to skip all the way to basically to the boss of the sunken ship before you ever get gravity suit or grapple beam.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I did not pull off the skip. I pulled off the super speed thing and got that. There's 2 missile tanks that you're not supposed to be able to get until you get grapple beam. I got those, but that was it.
I mean, that's one thing that's so interesting about this game, that you can do all these things ahead of time if you know what you're doing.
My point was you can shine spark sideways is what I was getting at. You don't have to go up. You can go sideways. I don't know if you can I don't think you can diagonal shine spark in this game like you can in some of the others.
I'm not sure. I didn't try.
I don't think you can unless you have a ramp to push you in that direction.
The shine sparking speed boost in this game, I think there's one really good side of it, one really bad side of it that I had to get used to. Again, one being the run button, which I think could be really helpful in other Metroid games like Fusion.
Yeah.
Like having that run button and being able to activate when you need it. Great. Love it. Do not love that it takes away your health.
Oh, if you hit something. Yeah.
No, when you shine spark through the air, it takes away your health.
Oh, does it? Oh, I was thinking it was like when you impacted was that it was doing the health. Yeah, I killed myself or almost killed myself with it last night.
Because I was doing I was at that ramp after that boss. What's that boss's name? Cochrane or something like that? Cockamire?
Cockamire.
Yeah.
And like I kept practicing that jump, and it was just like, why am I near death? I'm not getting hit by anything. And then it's like I'm just watching the health takedowns. Like, oh my god, are you kidding me?
Yeah, I was using Shine Spark just to fill in the map outside the ship area when I first got it, and just while I was practicing trying to do the short run for it, and I was like, and that reminded me, I was like, oh yeah, it hurts you in this game because again, Metroid Dread, like probably a third of the freaking secret items and stuff or hidden items in that you have to Shine Spark to get to.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
and it doesn't do it in that, thankfully, because there's some of those Shine Spark puzzles I spent like an hour on because Metroid Dread, I 100%ed it without a guide. I think it's the only game I've ever 100%ed without using a guide.
Damn.
And I did have to look up once when I was stuck. I had to look up where am I supposed to go next. But other than that, I mean, I didn't look up how to do them or where the things. I was really proud of it. But yeah, there was one Shine Spark puzzle that I probably spent at least an hour on, and I recorded it and I showed my friend, and my friend was like, "Oh, I think you should try it this other way." And then it did it on my first try, and I was like, I was trying it too hard, but. I don't want to spend the whole time talking about Dread, but I love Dread.
Someday.
Yeah.
I need to get it. I need to play it.
It's really good. I think I have a little bit of recency bias, thinking that I might like it more than Super Metroid. I doubt that's true, but
yeah, it's probably just that it's so new, and it's the fact that
it's very polished, very polished.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think Super Metroid is in my top 3 Metroid games, but I do have to give it props for being as unforgiving as it is. I do think that's a positive.
Yeah.
Like, I like when games are not, like, holding your hand in that way or just, like, figure it out. I don't know. What do you want me to tell you?
I don't.
Yeah, I do. I normally do like that as long as it's doable. And Super Metroid's very doable. It's very generous with save points, though. One thing that I got used to, Symphony of the Night, every time you hit a save point, it fully heals you and refills your mana.
Right.
And in this game, it doesn't heal you or refill your ammo or anything. Which I don't think it does in any of the Metroids, but it still
does in, if not Fusion, then Prime. One of the
Prime
two.
It does in this game.
Oh, Prime! Oh, yeah, Prime it does.
Yeah,
yes.
and the first Metroid game that I ever really played for a decent amount of time was Metroid Prime. So when I first played Super Metroid and the save point didn't heal me, it irritated me. It still irritates me to this day. When I went through this game this last week, except for now I understood that Super Metroid has a lot of spots in the game where little enemies will just keep spawning out of a pipe or something of that nature where you can easily the refill point, they're just I'd rather just walk to a save point and get my health back. But I get it.
Yeah, so this is definitely something like in the original Metroid, you'll just sit there and kill the same enemy for like 10 minutes to refill your health before a boss, and it's kind of annoying. This one, it's a little more generous with it, I think, so that's good. One I just did think of, there is a third ability you have not from the very beginning, but almost from the beginning, that it never tells you about in this game.
What is that?
That is when you have the charge, once you get the charge beam, which you can, I actually managed to get the charge beam in the first 12 minutes. Yeah, whenever you do a somersault jump while you have the charge beam on, it's just like the screw attack. It will just yep.
I never knew that.
It's not, I don't know if it's as powerful as the screw attack, and I think it uses it up as soon as, I know it uses it up as soon as you land. It might use it up as soon as you hit something. But yeah, you can go straight through like almost any enemy. You just you somersault straight through them
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know
And
that's what you were talking about.
you don't take damage either. Yeah.
That's cool.
I thought you were talking
that's
about.
just the thing about Super Metroid where nothing's really explained to you. It's a game where you experience like the story. The whole idea is you're not even like you're on a planet, and the planet is pretty organic. Like the areas are, you have your hot area, you have, but it also makes sense. Like everything, and most of the enemies you fight in this game aren't even like enemies. They're just you're fighting the wildlife of this planet. You are fighting pirates, yes, but for a lot, most of your enemies are wildlife.
Most of the enemies are just wildlife that are in your way.
Yeah.
They don't even attack you,
No,
right? They don't even come at you. Yeah, they're just there.
But some are hunting you, kind of in a way, because you're prey. So it makes sense. But it's. I think that's something I also didn't appreciate when I first played this game as much as I can't remember because I didn't want to go back and listen to that episode, which I appreciated now, where you're running through an old, some areas feel like you're running through an old base or old cities because they're Chozo cities, Chozo temples in a way, even though it's very, it's a game, so I have to look a certain way. But that's, so it's very interesting that it also makes sense because it's been years since the Chozo had been, executed and are extinct from this planet, yet, wildlife just kind of takes over, which would happen.
Yeah, exactly. And there's the sunken pirate ship, space pirate ship is like a really cool atmospheric area. And that's, if you can, I can imagine coming from Prime and then playing this, you'd be like, oh, that's what that was. So that's what that was. Because Metroid Prime is the most, I would say it's the most closely related to Super Metroid of any of the games. Like it's a lot of Metroid Prime as an homage to Super Metroid.
Yeah, I can buy that.
Yeah, like your ship in the middle, which by the way, the ship does fully heal you if you save it.
Yes.
Again, something it never tells you. It never even tells you that you can do that. Just happen to if you happen to go and stand on top of your ship because you see your ship and it's like, oh, cool. I wonder what happens if I stand on top of it. And then it's like, oh, it's a save point that fully heals you and refills your ammo.
One thing I did think you were going to talk about earlier, just going back to it for a second, because I wanted to talk about it too. The extra ability you get when you get the morph ball bombs.
Oh,
you charge up and go into morph ball, and you just explode like a bunch of bombs out of you.
What?
Yeah, it's very, very useful for finding hidden blocks in a room.
I never knew that either.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you charge beam, go into morph ball, and like 5 or so bombs just come out of you. It's really cool.
I wish you could trigger it instead of it just doing it as soon as you hit morph ball, but you can do it. You can do it in midair also.
Really? Okay, that's cool too.
Good. That's difficult. Another thing, it never tells you that you can morph ball in midair. You just will accidentally do it to discover you can do it.
Oh, that's actually
yeah. There's actually some areas that you can access that way, and then similarly, there's bomb jumping, which I'm really good at in every Metroid game except for this one. For Metroid, I'm not good at the timing on it.
And again, it's another thing. I don't think the game ever teaches you or anything, but you have to do it.
Yeah, I got good at fusion morph ball jumping, bomb jumping, but not this one. This was a different timing, I think.
Yeah, and this one, there's a couple places where you have to do it to get up just one square, but there's never anywhere where you have to like chain them. But there's a secret in Dread. There's at least one secret where you could come back later once you have screw attack or double jump, but otherwise the only way to possibly do it, or shine spark. But if you want to do it when you first get to it, you can morph ball jump, but you have to do like maybe 7 or 8 up.
God.
Which is chaining more than one is like chaining more than one is pretty, or chaining more than 2 is pretty difficult as it is. Yeah. But I got to where I could do it, in Fusion and in Dread and in I think Zero Mission. But for whatever reason in Super Metroid, it takes me forever to chain bomb jumps properly, and I've never really been able to do more than maybe 3.
I think I've only ever done 3 for any game, but that's really impressive though.
Yeah, it's once you get the timing in Dread, it's super easy because it's just like it's a rhythm and it just works. I think because it's so precise and everything's so precise and polished that it's pretty frame perfect. So you have that rhythm of 1, 2, 3, and you can just do it.
I mean, another thing about this game is that the year difference. So when we get Super Metroid from the time that we finally get another 2D Metroid, it wasn't until Fusion. I mean, it's like almost 10 years at that point.
It's 2002, so it's 8 years. Yeah,
8 years. That's a long time not to have. It's just one of those series that. Because I remember the whole Metroid skipped the entire 64 era, and I had never played this game really. So I remember when I was playing Smash Brothers, and you had that Super Metroid level. I'm like Brinstar. I'm like, I don't give a shit about this. I don't know who any of this stuff is. It didn't mean anything to me. Yeah. Where now that I played this game a few times, like Kraid, for example, I had seen Kraid before because I always I'd get to him, or I'd maybe die, or my friend would get to him. But that's the thing that's so interesting to me, the way the boss fights are. Like, most of them are well, some of them are part of the Pirate's Force that you have to beat to then unlock the final door, which is an interesting little way that the game locks itself.
Yeah.
I like.
Zero Mission also does, I believe.
Yes, but it's only just Kraid and Ridley though. Where this one's Kraid, Ridley, Phantom,
Crocomire.
Crocomire in there too?
Yeah,
It's four of them.
No, the shrimp guy isn't there then, is he?
No.
Okay. Because, I mean, you're fighting pirates, essentially, but it's cool that the pirates are not humanoid, because it makes sense. You know, you're in different worlds. They're going to be different creatures. They're not just going to be humanoid-type creatures.
Yeah.
But I like that idea, too. That's something I didn't really appreciate.
I really wish, sometimes with certain games, it's like, I wish I could erase my memory and go back and play it the way it was meant, you know? I wish that I had played the original Metroid, and then Metroid 2, and then Super Metroid, and then Prime. I wish I had done it like that, because for me it was really, I played a lot more Prime before I played Super. I played Super long before I ever played Metroid 1. I didn't play Metroid 1 until it came to the NES, the Switch Online, because I had played Zero Mission, so I was like, why would I play 1, you know? And I've never played Metroid 2 on the Game Boy. I've only played the remake, the Samus Returns.
Metroid 2 on Game Boy is much easier, I think, than Metroid on NES. Like, that's the one I still have to really play, but
Metroid on NES, I feel like if you've played, I've played it, and I haven't beaten it. I've gotten pretty far in it. If you've played Zero Mission, it's just like playing a way worse version of Zero Mission. Honestly,
like that's one I have to like be really careful with, like passwords, and like really devote my time to it, which is going to take a lot. I feel like.
Yeah, well, you can. That's one where I would definitely not feel bad about using the rewind feature or something on the Switch.
Yeah, actually, that's a good idea. That's a good idea.
Because that one is just, it's punishing, and like I said, you'll be down on health, and then it's just like, all right, I'm going to have to go in and out of this door and kill this same enemy like 30 times to refill my health. It's kind of dumb. So,
another thing about Metroid, this is also the first Metroid game with a map.
Yeah.
Which the map is what I think really makes Metroidvanias, like, you know, the search action genre, like it having that map, knowing areas that you explored and areas you haven't explored, what you go back to, is what makes this genre so much fun and so amazing to most people.
It really does. Not having the map would really makes the original Metroid super annoying. Mm-hmm. Not hard in a fun way, just hard in an annoying way.
In Metroid 2, it becomes a little bit of a hassle. I kind of like it in a way, but it's kind of like stuff just changes, and you're just expected to go figure out which part of the area changed, and like, oh, now it's a different direction, but like, how would you know that?
Yeah, but that's that era. Though. Like, they didn't. This was a game that really, helped define the genre and help create the genre.
Right.
Yeah, it really did. Like, people weren't calling them Metroidvanias till after Symphony of the Night, but it was because they're like, oh, they took Castlevania and gave it the Super Metroid treatment. You know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the genre.
Symphony of the Night came out in like 99?
97.
So 97? Oh, okay. So it's not that long.
Years after this.
Metroid. Yeah.
It feels longer because it's such a different era, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're going from Super Nintendo to PS1.
Oh, and the statue's not Crocomire. It is a shrimp boss. Crocomire doesn't show up. But I do want to talk about him quick. Like, that's a boss fight that I really like, where usually most boss fights you have to just, damage the enemy enough. You have to keep hitting him in the mouth with missiles to push him into the lava so he dies.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I like that. And I also like
that. Oh, go ahead.
And then he comes back to life, which is also...
That's what I was going to say, yeah. And then he comes back, I'm like, oh man, I'm going to have to fight zombie... Oh, no, I'm not.
It just falls apart.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a cool fake out. Yeah.
The weird thing to me is, I feel like I've fought these bosses in other games, and I know that I have.
Ridley, you have.
You've lost several of them.
And B, it was really weird, again, playing this for like the first time for real, how many of the enemies are just repeats, and how many of them it's like, I'm so used to Space Pirates being so much harder in Fusion, and then this one I kill in like one hit, you know?
Oh yeah, or even in Prime. In Prime, you like basically have to use missiles on them, or to kill them easily at least. Yeah, they're pretty easy in Super Metroid comparatively.
So like how most bosses are like just missile sponges than this one versus Fusion being more strategic and how it's used. Like Morph balls be used more often and all that.
Also, a big thing with this game is that they want you to try to find all the missiles because they give you way more than you need if you go and search everything. I never get all the energy. I didn't get nearly most of the energy tanks. I didn't get most of the missiles, but I just don't care.
Yeah, I've 100%ed Super Metroid with a guide. Without a guide, it's not that bad because once you get the X-ray vision, that that makes it easier. I think there is still like one or two hidden blocks that the X-ray vision doesn't see for some reason. But that makes it a lot easier once you get that. But that's late. That's pretty late game. Unless
X-ray vision was really cool.
Skipping. Yeah. It was a very good and necessary addition if you want to be able to get everything.
Better than when Prime did it, I will say that.
Yeah. Prime, it was very annoying because it made the game like while you had it on, it's like hard to see anything.
Right.
And you had to use it against those ghosts, and that's so annoying. Yeah.
Oh God. That's like the worst thing about Prime 2.
Yeah.
I have never played Prime 2 yet.
It's an interesting game.
I thought you were saying also. Yeah. No, I've only gotten maybe 2 or 3 hours into Prime 2, so I hadn't gotten that yet. I like it though. I haven't gotten that far.
It's one of those games I definitely had to come back to and be like, okay, I've played most of these other games. I'm just going to finish this one. Especially when Prime 3 is such like a brief experience, I feel like, comparatively.
Oh, is it shorter?
It's not necessarily shorter. It's more streamlined, so it's easier to get through.
Oh, okay.
Where like Prime and Prime 2 are very much Metroid in that they're very like exploration focused, and like, you know, you're getting in this new quest objective. You got to go back to this area and really expand out that map. Prime 3 is much more like cinematic and much more like straightforward of like, you know, cutscenes and we're wrapping up this story. There's voice acting and there all these other sequences that feel like they should be more are just very basic and bland. Not bland, but like shallow.
Okay, not like your normal Metroid type game.
Like you're doing your stuff in your ship for the very first time, and the ship stuff is very like this should be more. I'm getting like upgrades for nothing.
Oh yeah.
I mean, with this game, it does a good job of always feeding you something. You're always going to get a new upgrade at some point that you're going to use, like the ice beam, the phaser. It does a good job of giving you those breadcrumbs here and there to keep you entertained and keep you, you know, playing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it keeps it's repeating a lot of stuff from original Metroid, which is stuff that is like, oh man, I wish that this would have been so much more if I was like, oh, that's a reference to that. That's a reference to that, you know. But I like that they kept a lot of the stuff, that they kept a lot of the enemies that, you know, Kraid, right before you fight Kraid, or no, is it Kraid or am I thinking Crocomire? Which is the big tall one that shoots out spikes out of his back? Kraid. Yeah, so when you fight Kraid in the original Metroid, he's your size. He's maybe like a foot taller than you, right?
Yeah,
and when you fight Kraid in this one, right outside his boss room, there's a Kraid the size of you.
Which is cool.
Which is cool. And so if you were coming from the original Metroid, you would probably have killed him and be like, well, that was a really anticlimactic boss fight. And then go into the next room and it's bam, there's Kraid, big giant Kraid, right? Whereas if this is your first time to ever see Kraid, then when you fight the little Kraid, you probably just think, oh, that was a weird enemy. And then you move on, you know?
Yeah, I feel it was like a mini Kraid, like a mini boss fight, basically.
Yeah.
Like preparing you for the real thing.
So it's a really neat touch. It was very clear that, you know, which this is developed by the same team that developed the original Metroid. And so it's like, or well, it's a lot of the same people. And it's like, it's really clear that they were like, we want to recreate, it's like a love letter to our original thing, you know?
Right. And then you played, you know, Melee and everything, and you have the Kraid in the background of the stage with Brinstar.
Oh, yeah.
In the adventure mode, you have the escape sequence whenever you do Samus's stage. It's really fun seeing a lot of that play out as in context.
Yeah, it really is.
Just seeing how much the Super Metroid gets referenced in Melee, in Metroid Prime, and all of those games.
Yeah.
So much stuff is set here in this game. You know, it really kind of defines, like with the Kraid fight. I mean, I remember fighting Kraid, and I remember him being a lot harder than what he actually was. Like, he was a pushover when I played this playthrough.
Mm-hmm.
Because now I'm more educated about Metroid games. Like, I had no issue with him. Like, example, like the first boss you fight, what I always call Marble, he's a big green thing. You can literally just sit in one corner and just roll back and forth, and he won't touch you at all.
Right.
And just wait till he's open. Like, and nothing will hit you, and I did not know that until I watched speedruns. I'm like, oh, this is simple.
Yeah, I feel like in this game, compared to really all of the other games, the boss fights are all like really like easy compared to the other games. Like
not Ridley.
This game.
Ridley just
yeah.
a lot of missiles.
Yeah.
That's why you have to get a bunch of the missiles.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how many missiles you have when you go to fight him. That's true.
I
mean, definitely if you're doing like a low
and like 80 regular missiles, and it took me freaking forever to beat him.
Right.
He takes like 30 super missiles, I think they said, or so. I didn't miss because I had rewind, so I wasn't missing. But Ridley was just a nightmare for me. I mean, I thought I was going to have to leave and go search for things. I could not beat him even with rewind a couple different times. He just, when I'm doing it perfectly, where I screw up, I just rewind it, and I still was having a hell of a time trying to beat him. I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Well, I think he's harder in some of the other games, though.
Probably is.
I feel like he's harder in, is it Fusion where you fight? Yeah, Fusion is like, if you don't know the trick for electrocuting him, then he's like, which I don't know how anyone would ever find that out without looking it up. But
Fusion's super hard, though, in general.
Fusion's the one where you grapple beam the electrical outlet while he's holding you, and it shocks him and does a ton of damage to him, right?
You don't have the grapple beam in that one.
So it's not Fusion. Is it maybe a Zero Mission I'm thinking of? I don't know. There's one. No, because you don't have it in Zero Mission either. There's one of them where when he grabs you, he's carrying you around. You can grapple beam the electrical outlets on the side on the wall, and it does like a ton of damage to him.
That's either got to be this one. It must be this one.
Oh, I think it's this. Yeah, I think it is this one. Okay, well then, yeah, that's why I think Ridley's easy in this one, because
you can electrocute him.
Yeah. Give me a sec. But yeah.
How do you electrocute Ridley?
Yeah, Ridley was tough. There was also the boss in Meridia that was also really tough, because a lot of that, like, it's just kind of swooping around, so you got to really time your attacks.
Yeah.
So that was, it's.
Who's in Meridia? Who's the boss? Is that?
I don't remember the name, but it's like it just remember, like, it just kind of swoops around, and it'll come from the left, come from the right, and then like you have like a couple chances to like attack it, and then it'll go away again and come back, kind of like Ridley. But
are you talking about is not Fontoon? Is that the shrimp guy?
Maybe
the green guy that, like, he looks like a giant shrimp. You can electrocute him.
He's got the belly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was mistaken.
No, Ridley
Dragon.
Oh yeah, he's
right.
a bitch.
Dragon's the one Dragon's the one that you can electrocute by letting him grab you, and then you grapple beam the open electrical outlets on the side on the wall.
That's how I beat him.
Yeah,
I had enough health to be able to tank him like that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, Dragon flies by, grabs you, and then you grapple beam the electrical outlet, and it shocks him. And I don't know if you're supposed to know to do that or not. Like, I definitely did not realize I could do that on my own.
I don't think you would know, because the game doesn't. I mean, yes, you see them, you can break them, and they show the electrical outlet. But I feel like,
why would you think they grapple?
Yeah,
right, exactly. Yeah. Also, if you want proof that my phone is listening to our conversation, I just got a notification for romhacking.net for Super Metroid.
Oh, 100% phones listen to our conversation. I can't tell you how many times I have said something with the phone in my pocket, not being used, not recording, nothing. And it's like, hey, that thing you just mentioned. I'm like, fuck you.
Usually it happens after the conversation, not during, which is amazing.
Not during. That's pretty crazy.
Hey, and people are worried about trackers and vaccines. No, don't worry. We're tracked just fine in our wallets and our pockets. Yeah, we're tracked just fine. Don't worry.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that we figured that out about Dragon, because your listeners are probably like, what the hell is this guy talking about? Shocking Ridley.
I'm glad. I was like, what are you telling me? Something I didn't know? And then I'm like, oh, okay. It's just.
But no, I felt like some of the bosses in Fusion, I feel like has the hardest bosses in the series. Like, I can't think of any game where I had, of all the Metroid games, I never really had a problem with any of the bosses except for Fusion. There were bosses that I had to try 10, 15 times. And in Super Metroid, I think I might die to a boss once or twice.
They're not terrible. Even Fantoon in the wrecked ship looks like a giant, kind of looks like a shrimp. Also, he's like a ghost boss. He's annoying as hell, but
yeah, he's annoying, but it's not bad.
Terrible if you can pick up on a strategy. And the thing also I like about Super Metroid, almost every boss but Ridley drops something in the battle to give you health and to give you missiles.
Yeah.
Something that you can break and then get stuff from.
Which is really helpful. Always really helpful.
Which makes me want to play the game more and keeps me engaged, because, sometimes I might be doing bad at a boss fight so I can get a little extra health in the boss fight.
Now, there is a trick you can do that I learned from watching speedrunning videos that will kill Ridley pretty fast. And that is, there's a thing you can do where you charge up when you have the plasma beam, and it creates this you let it go and it creates this thing that waves around the screen. And if the two points intersect, it does a crap ton of damage that will do a lot of damage to Ridley. That's probably, but I've never tried that before either. So, but that's the next speed running trick I'm going to start trying to learn, is how to do that.
One of the other things about this game that didn't register with me for a long time until this most recent playthrough is you first see Metroids at one point in this game, and they're really weak, and they're supposed to be like, oh my god, Metroids. I'm like, Metroid, who what are these? I don't know what the hell these are. But now it makes so much more sense to me. And then when you get to the bottom of the game, when you find the real Metroid, I'm like, okay, this all makes sense now.
Right.
Yeah, the
But does
Metroids
the
when you get to them are really fucking hard. Jesus.
Well, does the game tell you that they're weak to cold?
No.
Or are you just supposed to remember that from having played the original Metroid?
Well,
Yes.
probably yes.
Yeah,
I mean, I know just because I know. But
I know
it's
because I
like
know.
you should, because if you're using the ice beam, like an ice beam plus missile, and they're pretty easy to kill. Same thing like Metroid Prime tells you everything, right? Like Metroid Prime, if you scan things, which it makes you scan every boss, and then the scan thing tells you how to beat the boss.
Doesn't make.
Well, doesn't it like flash at the end like bwap, 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 like
it kind of tells you should, yes. It gives you more notification that this is what you should do.
Yeah. Which every time I play Metroid Prime, I try to 100% it by scanning everything, and I fail every time.
Yep.
I never managed to get it. I think I got like really close the last time I played through it. I missed one of the bosses, like not one of the bosses, but one of the things, like a boss shoots at you that you can scan, and if you don't get it, then that's it. That's the only time you can see it the whole game.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's pretty annoying. But anyway, in that, you scan the very first time you scan a Metroid, it says they're very weak to cold. It's like cool,
Right.
And this game also follows that era where it doesn't like to tell you things. They want you to figure everything out yourself.
Yeah, which there's a lot of stuff behind that. There's the whole rental thing back then.
Yeah.
When you rent video games, they really don't want you to be able to play through it in a weekend, But I think it's for the best in this game.
I mean, I get it, but I hate the fact that played a part in so many games.
Yeah.
It will always bother me that games are made extra hard just because of renting. Like, I get it from a business standpoint. I understand, but I will never be okay with it.
Yeah, no, I agree. But in this case, I don't think it's a problem. I like that it doesn't tell you things, that expects you to figure it out.
Yeah.
And that's something they brought over with Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Somebody yesterday was on the Castlevania Reddit. They're like, "Oh, is it possible to kill Dracula with Richter without dying and having to be saved by Maria?" And I'm like, "Wait, you can die fighting Dracula with Richter? Like,
yes.
How? How would you die to do that?"
You suck.
And I realized the guy doesn't know. Well, you have all these moves from Rondo of Blood. You have all those same moves. You can do like a lot of stuff. Like he didn't, probably don't know that item crashing is even a thing.
Well, I've done both. I've done it where I knew about the moves. I just died because I just was sucking at it.
Well, I watched a video of it, and I realized, I have died. I play the game so much that I'm used to not. I saw it and I was like, oh no, I've seen this. Never mind. Yeah, I've seen it. So no, I'm not trying to be like I'm an expert at Symphony of the Night, but in that game, there's all these button combination things you can do. The game never tells you. And then as a la carte later, you find spell books and you can buy the spell books, but all the spell books do is tell you how to do the spells that you've been able to do the entire time.
That's
so
fun.
If you like,
I like that.
So like, there's like, they're all like, Street Fighter, Tekken type moves, and you can do all of them from the beginning of the game, all of them. With I think there might be one that's like locked behind an item, but that's it. So, and some of them are really complicated, but whenever I play Symphony of the Night, I just I have them written down for me so I can just do it from the beginning. And so Richter's got like 7 moves he can do from the beginning, and that includes being able to get up into that top room and get all those hearts. And similarly with Super Metroid, we were talking about where you can wall jump from the beginning, but the game doesn't tell you how to wall jump until, if you're playing the game normally, you're probably like 3 or 4 hours into the game before it tells you that wall jumping exists,
Yeah.
And that's one thing that makes this game so amazing, is that there's so much stuff that's hidden in it, but it's so much stuff that you can learn. And you only do see, I have to always bring this up, there's only one other person that you meet that's on this planet. He's dead, but he's like a bounty hunter or something. It's never explained who he is, but he's before one boss fight, you just see his dead corpse. You just see his corpse there, and it's covered in like bugs.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's right before it's before the like floating, the like boss that like floats around swing, or the plant one, right? I think no, so, it's not him.
It's one of the early ones. I can't remember who.
It is early because I saw it last night when I started up when I played last night.
Yeah.
I just played for like an hour and I saw it. So
it might be before you get to Kraid then.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's definitely before Kraid.
Well, that reminds me. Mike, do you remember the boss that like pops out of the background and like kind of goes around the room and kind of pop back into a hole?
The worm guy, yes.
There was the same boss in Saint Sword.
Ah. I don't care. I didn't think about that, but I can't even remember Saint Sword. It's been a while.
But since that was the last one we did together, it's like, oh,
yeah,
same boss. Okay, cool.
People might not have heard that yet, depending. I don't know when that. But hey, it exists if you haven't heard it. You should hear it, but
Yeah,
if it's not the exact same, it's very similar.
Saint Sword's a Genesis game that's actually pretty decent. So
yeah, I was a Nintendo fanboy my whole life. I didn't touch a Genesis outside of a store kiosk until, God, you know what? It's possible I've never actually played on an actual Genesis outside of a store kiosk before.
That's fine. You don't need to.
Fair enough.
That's true. I have Genesis, like I have like the Sonic Genesis collection and stuff like that. I've played some of that stuff, but I think yeah, I've never seen a SG-1000 in real life before, or a Master System in real life.
I've never seen a Master System either.
I've got one. It's cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I played a Game Gear.
I have a Game Gear as well.
I played Game Gear games, but not on a Game Gear.
But the true test of this podcast would be to do a Game Gear game, and for me to do it on the hardware.
We've done Game Gear games, or I played Game Gear games for this podcast, but never on the hardware. No.
That'd be a challenge at some point, like doing like a Shinobi game or the Mega Man game or something.
You better have enough batteries.
Yeah. Remember,
one other thing I want to talk about Super Metroid.
Is the one you're talking about, by the way. Sorry.
What is?
Oh, I just was looking at because it was killing me. Not doing Batwoon. Batwoon is the boss
the lizard
that goes in and out of the
thing.
holes. Yeah.
Okay. The boss that it is a boss. Boss I want to mention last is Mother Brain. Like the whole getting up to Mother Brain, it didn't mean anything to me back then. The last time I played this game, and now that I've beaten Zero Mission, like it's so much of a rehash of what you did in Zero Mission to get there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I still think that's cool.
It is, and it's funny because then if you play Metroid Dread, there's brains that you fight. There's mini bosses that you fight that are brains that are like ridiculously easy, like super dumb easy. They're just there to give you a temporary power boost to kill an enemy, and that's it. And but it's funny because there'll be like a brain and it's shooting those same little donut things at you and all that. It's like exactly, but it's anyway, yeah.
That's cool. Oh, it's just one of those fights that and it's also like where the more story kind of comes in the game, because as you go to fight Mother Brain, right before it, you run into the baby Metroid who recognizes you right before it kills you, and then you also and then at the end of the Mother Brain fight, after you beat it and you beat it the second time, the Super Metroid or the baby Metroid shows up and then hurts Mother Brain, gives you the hyper beam that you only use for one fight, which I think can die in if you suck, but.
Yeah. That's actually, again, the Metroid Dread thing. Whenever you kill the brains, you get the hyper beam for 2 shots, basically for like just to then kill an enemy with, and then it goes away.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I want to play Dread, but Dread sounds really hard, so I'm staying away from it.
I'm excited for it.
I'll tell you, it's really not hard. It's hard to 100%. It's as far as games go, it's actually pretty easy, and it's pretty short too.
People were complaining about it, so.
Well, it's hard like Super Metroid.
That's hard.
It's harder than what I think people are used to these days, but it's no harder. It's not as hard as Super Metroid probably, but it's like on the same it's on about the same difficulty scale as Super Metroid, I would say.
Out of curiosity, in the ROM hacks, is there a way to get the hyper beam early?
I'm sure.
I haven't seen one, but I'm sure there is, just for like a god mode. You just want to be able to walk around and just blow everything up.
I would love to see that.
I've never messed with any of the ROM hacks for Super Metroid because I just don't care enough. Unfortunately I do want to play through them, but that hasn't happened yet.
The only ROM hack I've done with Super Metroid is the randomizers, just the regular Super Metroid randomizer, which I've never beaten. The only randomizer I've ever beaten is Symphony of the Night, but I've done the Super Metroid randomizer several times, and then I tried that Super Metroid Link to the Past one and realized I'm not good enough at Link to the Past for it. But and then I've done the Link to the Past randomizer, and that's fine too. It's combining them that's insanity.
Yeah, that is insanity.
But I encourage people to check that out. It's Awesome Games Done Quick, Oats and Goats, Super Metroid plus Link to the Past, or something like that, or just Awesome Games Done Quick, Super Metroid plus Link to the Past randomizer, or something like that. But it's a fun video to watch because it's pretty crazy to see.
Surprised they haven't done like a Super Metroid and another Metroid, like kind of similar connection like that of just you're playing Super Metroid, then you're playing Fusion, then you're playing Super.
Yeah, I feel like
Nintendo.
that would be hard because there's no other Metroid on Super Nintendo, but I think you could do that.
fair.
You
Yeah,
would think you could do Fusion plus
Zero Mission.
That'd be
since they're
cool.
on the GBA, right?
And you could bring a Link to the Past back into that too.
Yeah, yeah.
Which, speaking of, I'm surprised there was never Super Metroid on GBA.
Yeah,
Nintendo doesn't like old money sometimes.
Well, there's the Super. I don't think the GBA can run Super Nintendo.
It can. It runs
There's
Super Mario World. It
has
runs
Link to the Past.
Yeah,
It does have Link to the Past. You're
I
right.
think it had issues with Mode 7.
it also runs FF6.
But this doesn't
on
have
GBA.
Mode 7.
But they could have developed around it as well.
So I guess they could have, yeah.
Because like Metroid,
How they
Zero
are.
Mission, and Fusion are all on the Game Boy Advance.
Yeah.
So why not Super? I think having Super on the GBA would have been a lot helpful, especially getting people to play it more often when they were younger.
Yeah.
Because like adapting it to that style, I think would have lent a lot of interesting credibility. Not credibility, but like it would have been a very different thing had Super Metroid been retrofitted to the GBA style, and like maybe given a couple key upgrades too. You know what I mean? Like if it got the ledge grabbing, if it got that stuff in the conversion.
Well, yeah, the ledge grabbing would make a big difference to like there's certain things that would be within your reach that aren't. They'd have to kind of move some platforms around, but I guess that's
Sure.
that's not undoable. Yeah, it's interesting. I do have another Super Metroid ROM hack that I haven't played yet that I downloaded and installed and just haven't gotten to.
Mhm.
That's it's called I think it's called Super Zero Mission.
Mhm.
And so it's Zero Mission. I think it's like a kind of a retelling of Zero Mission with the Super Metroid mechanics.
Right.
So I think that's what it is. I don't know. I haven't messed
Yeah, I
with
think
it
you're
yet.
right. I've seen it before. I've never messed with it, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but I downloaded it and then just haven't gotten around to it. Similarly, like I have AM2R. That's one we didn't talk about.
I don't want to.
Yeah, that's fine.
I want to cover it, Ashley, to be honest with you.
Oh, okay, cool.
It just
cool.
one day.
Yeah.
That's when I start getting into fan games, which will be another show on this show that I haven't started yet.
Yeah, totally. One thing we didn't talk about was the music.
Yes, I did want to.
I love the music to Super Metroid.
I didn't play with the music on very often. I did a few times, but it's still good.
Yeah, it is. It's funny when you get to. I think it's the way I was playing. It's the second area you go to but that's if you're skipping stuff. But you get in and it's like some like almost like it's like some funky jazz plays. It's like it's kind of out of nowhere. But I love it's Kenji Yamamoto. And I love the music for this game. I play this music a lot, like in my classroom. Like I teach high school, and I have like music playing when students are working on things and stuff like that. And Yamamoto, I know did the music for a lot of the other Metroid games, like Metroid Prime and Fusion, and then I think did like I don't know, other stuff too. I know I'm pretty sure it's like some of the like sports games and stuff. But yeah, for just that Metroid music is just always something that's I think it does like a lot to kind of create that atmosphere in the game.
Yeah, it really does.
I think more than this game than any other, it's very dark and ambient in a way that's very menacing. Like Metroid is very horror focused, very isolation like themed, but I think in this one it goes further than the other ones.
Yeah.
Like it feels like it's kind of on that alien type of vibe. More than Nintendo would usually ever go.
Yeah,
this game was inspired by Alien, so.
Right? But I feel like there's like there's like the safe version of like you can kind of call back to it, but it's still got to be family friendly. Or this is like no, this is like there's no blood, but there could be blood.
Yeah, that's I like. Speaking of like the death screen when you die, it's also just like it's kind of scary.
Yeah, I didn't get it that much, but.
I mean, I cheated, so I didn't get it all, but that's different.
Well, it's like it like zooms. It's like it blacks out the screen except for Samus, and she's like glowing like she's exploding. And she
right.
It has like a sound almost like she's screaming.
Yeah, I've heard it before, just not this playthrough.
Yeah,
I mean, Fusion has something similar.
Yeah, I think all of them after this one did have something like that. I liked it in Prime. It's like your HUD goes out, like your screen goes out on your visor, which is really a different direction, but also very cool. But it's just I agree with what you were saying. Like Metroid is like really the one Nintendo property where they kind of lean into the darkness and the scariness of it.
Yeah, which is really cool that they have that. Like, it's why I prefer Nintendo over Disney, to be honest. Like, they're not afraid to have the friendly persona. They still will indulge in the darker, more mature thematic content in a way that's serving to the material.
Yeah.
Like, they'll publish Bayonetta 2. I would never see Marvel actually doing a full MCU R-rated movie.
Yeah, that is true.
One day, maybe. I don't know. I want
give me the Logan of the MCU, and then we'll talk.
Okay. And last thing that I want to mention before we wrap this up is I do want to mention the cover art, how much that always kind of confused me because Ridley is red in the cover art, but he's purple in the game, but that was from Nintendo for you. So
yeah, that's one of my, like, I've drawn that before and like hung up the drawing like in my house. Like, I love that art. I've sat there and like copied this like box art a bunch of times. Like, I've always liked it a lot.
Have just now noticed those are Kraid's feet, and that's his big belly on the cover.
Yeah.
I have never noticed. I saw the green claws. I have never noticed the big belly on the cover before until just now.
Yeah. It kind of looks like it's like the moon or something, but it's his belly. You can even see his
belly button.
Yeah, his little belly button.
That's cute. I love that.
All right.
One thing I do want to ask about real quick. The one thing I did not get in my playthrough was the bomb jump or the morph ball jump.
Oh, you never got the spring ball?
No. Where do you get it?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't recall either.
I don't know where.
Because I know I not accidentally, but I sequence broke a couple minor things, I think. I can't remember exactly what now, but I could look at my notes, I guess.
So the spring ball, you get it in Meridia. You have to have the grapple beam.
Okay, so it's probably one of those things I just overlooked.
It's an optional. It's an optional one. You've got to go through like kind of a morph ball maze to get to it in the first place.
Right. Okay.
So it's not one that's on. It's not on the beaten path, and it's not necessary for beating the game. And even then, like there's things that you need it for, like optional like bombs and missile upgrades and stuff that you can use it for. But it's possible to get without it also. Like that was one of the ones I did today. When I was playing this morning, there's one missile where you're supposed to have the spring ball to get to it, but if you can kind of nail the jumping and turning into a morph ball in midair, then you can get it without it.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
Yeah, because I guess that is one thing is you mentioned sequence breaking, and so that's something I've never really tried to do too much, but and so that's what I decided ahead of this podcast is to watch speedrunners and try to replicate speedrun stuff. And there's some like really neat stuff you can do. The two like really big like things that you kind of have to learn how to do speed running with it is one of them's called, I think people call it pseudo ball or fake ball, but it's where you're running, but it's before you get speed boost. It's just running with the B button, but you run, you jump, you turn into a morph ball just as you're about to land, and then you can basically until you stop, you can you can go at run speed while morph balled. And so unless you there's like two different places you're not supposed to be able to get to until you get the speed boost, but you can get to them because they have the doors that kind of crash down. Right. You're supposed to have the speed boost to be able to get past those doors before they crash down. But you could run through the doors if the doors weren't crashing, if they were just like turning on or whatever. But since they're crashing down, you can't run through them. But if you can fake or pseudo ball or fake ball or whatever it is, you can go through it. So that's one. And then the other one is what I was talking about that I just did right before we started today, which is where I don't know what it's called, but I think it's called short speed, but it's where you can get the speed boost without the necessary runway. And there's two ways to do it. You can be holding, say you're running right, you hold down B and you press the right button, let it go, and then immediately press it again. And that cuts the necessary run space by about half. And then the other way to do it is way harder. You tap B right as it's like in this frames. It's like the third or fourth frame of running. You tap B and tap it again real fast, and you will only need like maybe a fifth of the run space. Cool. And so that one I managed to pull off once. And then I sat there for a good 30 minutes and couldn't do it again. The first one where you cut the run space in half, I could do that one reliably now. Every time I do it, it's really easy actually. So now that's really going to open up stuff for me, because now that means like there's so many places that you could shine spark that you're not supposed to be able to. And that's why when you watch the speedrunners, they're able to skip so much of the game because they can shine spark in places that you're not ever supposed to be able to do that. And that allows you to skip over getting the gravity suit and the grapple beam. So, and the double jump.
Looks like the one sequence break that I made note of in my notes was that I wall jumped up to the high boots.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Before like going through the room where you're supposed to be able to go to get them. Yeah, that was cool. The other thing I wanted to mention that I was seeing through my notes again was that unlike Fusion and Zero Mission, where the map is very particular of there's one item per square on the map.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This one is like, no, there's multiple. It doesn't matter. It could be anything.
Yeah.
It's just like there's a circle indicating something is there, but
yeah, it is. It is. I can't imagine 100%ing this without a guide. Where like Dread. What I really liked about Dread is, and Fusion Prime is the same way, where you look at the map and it tells you if you've gotten everything in that area, and then that's it. You know or you don't. And so I would just, when I was 100%ing Dread, I would just go back to every area until it said I had 100%, and then I'm good. With this game, it's like you're just going through every room with the X-ray scope at the end and scanning every square inch over and over again until you find that one thing you missed. So
yeah, it really feels like Super Metroid's like the blueprint, and like the other games have just refined it so much more. Yeah,
that is true. I think for most Metroid fans, they kind of split on Super Metroid and Fusion as which one they prefer.
Fusion, then Team Fusion.
Yeah, I was going to say you seem very much Team Fusion from what I was guessing, and I like Fusion. Fusion's like I like Fusion, but it's kind of like 5th or 6th on my or maybe 4th on my list of Metroid games because. It lacks the exploration of a lot of the other games, I feel like.
But I feel like there's a lot of hidden stuff, though. It
does have a lot of hidden stuff. That's true. Yeah. And Fusion has the best bosses, I think, of the entire series. So I give Fusion props, for sure.
Fusion, Prime, Zero Mission, Super probably is where I am.
Yeah. I'm probably Super Dread, Prime, Fusion. So
I would probably have Zero Mission in second. I just don't like the end sequence as much.
See, I love the ending. I love the ending of Zero Mission.
I do too. Zero Mission is my favorite.
I really like that Zero Mission ending. Zero Mission, I think, is great. It's just very short. Is a problem. Like I think you can easily beat Zero Mission in like without even trying to be like a speed run type in like 2 hours. You know.
Yeah, I think I did it in like 3 or 4 for the podcast.
Yeah. Or yeah. I mean, if you're trying to find everything, then yeah, even more so. But whereas, yeah, I mean, like Super, I don't know how long it normally takes me. I think like 7 hours probably usually.
It took me 10.
Yeah, so it's something like that. And then Dread is similar. My time on Dread was like 11 or 12 hours, but that was 100%ing it.
Right.
Which is fine. You don't have to measure games in time. And I realized like, I've got Symphony of the Night down now where like if I want to run through it fast, it's like a 4-hour game.
Yeah, because you know by heart.
Because and similar, but you can definitely, that doesn't make it. It's still, I mean, I think Symphony of the Night's probably like my 2nd or 3rd favorite video game, and so it doesn't have to be a long epic game to be good for sure.
All right, you guys ready to go on the shelf stacker box?
Yep.
All right.
I'll go first. So this was a little bit of a toss-up. I was still wondering where I wanted to put this game. I'm still gonna put it on. I'm gonna put it on the shelf this time. I don't remember what I did back then. Because I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot more than I have since I played it. Like I actually had a great time playing this game, and especially with Rewind, it makes it so much more fun. And it was a good game. Like I'm glad I finally went back to it and played it because I needed to. It'd been so long since I last played it, 3 years for the show. And I needed to, and I'm gonna definitely recommend it more than I have been. For a while, I've been pretty down on this game.
Yeah, I'm glad because it made me sad that you didn't like it. So I'm glad you like it.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it a lot more. Now that I understood Metroid more, it was a lot more fun. So
yeah.
How about you, Dominic?
Probably gonna go in the stack. Like I said, it's not my favorite Metroid. It's still good. I would still probably replay it here and there just to see if I can get more out of it, enjoy it more. But it definitely feels like Fusion and Prime and all of them kind of refine the formula in a way that I think works better for me. But I do really appreciate the amount it doesn't tell you what to do and the amount of like stuff that is either hidden more carefully or feels like you're just breaking in the game to get to versus the others which are very more precise and like grid-like mapped out.
Okay. Good way to put it.
Yes.
How about you, Kerry?
Yeah, I mean, shelf for sure. This is one of my very favorite video games of all time. So definitely probably gonna play it whenever we get off here. So
I will not play it again for a while. So
yeah, no, I haven't done. I've never beaten a randomizer for it. I always fail, and so I'm now now that I've got these speedrun tricks in my bag, I'm gonna try to see if I can finally beat a randomizer.
You probably need them to beat a randomizer, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I mean, randomizer just kind of depends on what you get, which is kind of the fun of it.
Yeah, I couldn't do it. And if you want to hear more Metroid episodes, we have covered other ones in the past. We did Metroid Prime, episode 142. Metroid Zero Mission Recovered, 43, which we just recovered, episode 43. Metroid Fusion, 103. The first time we played Metroid Zero Mission, episode 43. And in the first episode 1, we covered Super Metroid, which you just heard about. But if you want to hear what my opinion was 3 years ago, and other people who weren't on this show, and bad audio because I didn't know what the hell I was doing 3 years ago, go check that out. I don't recommend it because I'm pretty sure. I know I'm quiet because I didn't have the right microphone set up for that first episode.
It's not that bad.
I've listened to your Zero Mission Recovered.
I recorded it back in like January this year. I didn't publish it till later, but yeah, recorded well. I still love Zero Mission so much.
Yeah, Zero Mission's great.
All right, and Kerry, where can people find you at?
Yeah, I'm on Twitch, Karooseta, Kerooseta. I do play D&D with my friends on there. I play a lot of Dark Souls games on there, and I also modify and repair old video game consoles in my workshop and record that, though I haven't done it in a while. So check me out, Kerooseta.
All right, there'll be a link in the show notes. And Dominic, where can people find you at?
I'm on Twitter at DACICHOCKI. I'm also on the Distant Ways podcast on YouTube. I'm in the Overblood Facebook group. Yeah.
And I want to give a shout out to my buddy, Bill Tucker, who does the show sometime with me. Most of the we finished the MCU stuff. He started his own podcast, Gamer Looks at 40. Definitely go check him out. You see a link in the show notes. And I also want to give an awesome shout out to our awesome new intro and outro that we have from Helena at TikTok, Hell Hath Fury. You will see a link in the show notes. She made our intro and outro for us. I liked her, but it was time for a change. A little different. And if you want to support the show, we have a Patreon. Just a little $1. You can go down to our Patreon. You will see a link in the show notes. And you can subscribe and vote. And we have a monthly poll each month to decide a different episode that we're going to cover. I pick a list of things and then I throw it in there and you guys choose what we're going to cover. So definitely go check that out. And please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and on YouTube. We're only audio, but we are on YouTube if you want to get our audio. If you rather listen to it on YouTube, it's there for you. So definitely go check that out. And I think that's everything I need to say. So we will see you guys all next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
See your next mission.
Nice.